In this video, I'm going to show you what happens when you make some changes to X. Please keep in mind as you're working homework that changes to X occur first. Changes to Y come afterwards. And so we have the 4 points graphed here, and I've given the coordinates for each, and I'm labeling the points A, B, C, and D. And this represents endpoints and corner points for a particular function f. And what we're about to do is we're going to graph f of negative x plus 1. Now the order of operations would tell you that you would negate x first. And negating x means there is a reflection across the y-axis because a positive x would become negative and a negative x would become positive. But this is complicated a little bit by the fact that we are also going to add 1 to what we get after we would negate the x. So here's a little trick that I have that I think helps. If you're ever doing something to x, set it equal to one of the original x's. So for example, point A has the x coordinate -3. And so I'm setting negative x plus 1 equal to that, and I'm going to solve. And we're going to see what happens to the x value. This would give us the same y, because I'm not doing any sort of change to y in this problem. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, and that gives me negative x equals -4. And then I'm going to divide both sides by -1, and that gives me x equals +4. So the point that A translates to is the point 4, 0. So let's graph that, and I'm going to remind you where it came from. So it came from point A, reflected across the y-axis, but then what happened was we actually moved right 1. And so that's where it landed. All right, let's see where point B will land. So I'm going to take negative x plus 1 and set that equal to the x coordinate for B, which is -1. And I'm following those same steps that I did before. I'm subtracting 1, that gives me -2, and I'm dividing by -1, that gives me +2. And so that point, which we'll call B prime, is the point 2, 3, because we didn't do anything to make the y value change. So if you look at where, if you reflect B across the y-axis, you would be at the point 1, 3, but then we also moved right by 1. And then point C has the x coordinate 1, and if we subtract 1 we get 0, and then divide by -1 we still have 0. So C prime is going to be at 0, -1. Remember, the y coordinate hasn't changed. And then the last point, D, has x coordinate 3, so setting negative x plus 1 equal to 3, we're going to subtract 1, we get negative x equals 2, and then divide by -1 and we get x equals -2. So D prime is at -2, 0. And so what I'm going to do now is connect the dots in order: A prime to B prime, B prime to C prime, and then C prime to D prime.